Okay. We're back, YouTube. Episode 36. We're going to keep the intro rather short and sweet today because this month's event, which is King in the Castle, is essentially it's kind of like King in the Ring. It's tournament based. Obviously, at the start of the year, we have our Crown and Glory, which is a 10-man battle royale. The winner goes on to fight our mid-card title holder, the Great Lakes Championship, whereas King of the Castle is main event. Now, the way it works is 6 contenders, which I'll show you now. Nope, not for a roster. For a tournament, 6-person round robin tournament. Now, of course, we're not going to have everyone fight each other. Basically, it's going to be 4 matches. So rather than running 3 Kickoff Carnage shows for the month, we're going to run 4 and King in the Castle at the end of the month. So it'll be 1v1 matches. So essentially there'll be one person that each person won't fight, if that makes sense. But similar to, I guess, football stats, 3 points for a win and 1 point for a draw. And to sort of promote more draws, it's going to be unique styled 1v1 matches where if the match goes over, if it goes over 15 minutes, it instantly is called a draw. It's just the match is stopped and it's a draw if it goes over 15 minutes. So then they only get 1 point. And the 3 people on the table who have the highest amount of points after the 4 Kickoff Carnage shows, so after 4 matches, they go in a triple threat match at King in the Castle. And the winner, of course, is crowned King in the Castle. And they'll then go on next month to fight for the World Heavyweight Championship. Is essentially, hopefully that makes sense in a nutshell how it works. So the final match is a triple threat for the 3 highest workers on the table. And we have, as you can see, it's already announced. It's like solid. It's basically all the main eventers. There's going to be a lot of high rated matches this month, hopefully. Big opportunity for Zap too, being in there, since he's a little bit behind the rest of the guys when it comes to pop. But in terms of 1v1 matches, Zap is unbeaten still since joining the company. In other news, we're still running the consortium, so we take 84 grand, but I have realised, crunching the numbers, we probably would have made more than 84,000. So what we're going to do is run the consortium, the Alliance consortium. We're going to stick with it until the end of the year, so 2 more months, and then we're going to essentially change it, and all the money we make and lose will be our own. We also have a new Rest of the World broadcast contract. We managed to get 5% more on the revenue, so we'll see a slight increase to the broadcast revenue. Nothing crazy though. We are still going up quite a lot on merchandise, which is good too. So overall, everything's looking real nice. The titles obviously last month. Great Lakes still Ant-Man. He's on 44. Tag team champs went up to 45, as we now have, of course, the Men of Steel, the new tag champs, and of course Ernest. He's now on 9 defenses, which is it's pretty crazy. Creative hasn't really changed too much. Papa Swole still in the top spot, Ernest and Logan right behind him. Tennessee Williams though now jumps into the 5th. He's of course one of the men in the King in the Castle. He's on like huge momentum right now. I'll just quickly browse through here for anyone who wants to take a look. Most of these don't change though. There isn't really a point in going over creative every month like we have been doing, because apart from the odd time, it's not really changing too much. Although Blue Dragon apparently is the hottest guy in the roster right now. Interesting. Alright. Okay, fair enough. Roster wise though, the main people to look at here would be the new tag team champs, because we pushed them really hard and it did work, which is really good. Over 15 points. Mark Adonis went up and his tag team partner Masilk also went up. He went up 20, which is just crazy. Although obviously with those guys going up, it did mean the tag team champs took a little bit of a bump. LA Star lost 5 points. And I mean LA Star 2, he's lost even more. And then also obviously Austin and Logan were in that match. So Austin only dropped 2, but Logan, he dropped a lot, I noticed. I'm very surprised he didn't cry about it, about going over essentially. He lost 5 points, which isn't really that big of a worry because they'll get it back pretty quick. I'm actually quite surprised being on WrestleWorld because it's not like a public broadcast, it's subscription. I'm quite surprised with how much the popularity of our guys go up. Like even Landon's gone up a nice chunk, and it's only very small. So I think when we make our broadcaster, I was going to go public, but I think I might make it a subscription if I'm being honest, and that way we'll still make some broadcast revenue. Because I'm quite happy with these numbers, to be honest, how quick pop is going up for our workers. Yeah, we won't go over everyone. But things are looking good. Even Ant-Man's, he's up to 46 now, which I believe is even higher than what Tennessee Williams was when he was the champ. So it's like, yeah, even being on very small coverage for WrestleWorld, it seems like it doesn't really have that much of an effect. Maybe obviously as your ratings maybe go over 60 or something, then maybe it's a bit different. But yeah, even Cornell went up 4. Like, this is fine. So if we could even open a small subscription broadcast, that would be huge. But enough chit chat. We got a lot of shows to cover. Let's get into it. Okay, here we go. The first of 4 Kickoff Carnage shows, just shy of 2,000 people. We're starting off pre-show. I actually was expecting it with more shows this month. That 1 or 2 of the Kickoff Carnage shows would be rather short and sweet, but it's fully booked. Hence, we have some pre-shows. Pretty good pre-show though. Could have been on the main. Win for Giant Brody, pretty straightforward. Gets Marco Gonzalez in action. He's the MVP. 60 rated match, but it's the Blueprint who get the win. 58 rated segment. Pretty good stuff. Into a promo before our last pre-show match. It's the Vibe Tribe and Jack Holder. This is just to get these guys more experience, Zippy and Doctor are already very good on the mic, and Jack's not great, but he's not horrible either, so hopefully if we can keep booking guys like Jack in these kind of segments, especially with them being so young, it will definitely pay off in the long run. He didn't really perform well though, because we done it unscripted, because obviously the likes of Zippy and Doc flourish with no script. 54 rating's not crazy bad though, considering we had Jack in this. The match itself though, 51 rated. It's the classic 3v3 Vibe Tribe get the win. Beating Grim and Graham and Jack when Zippy pins Jack Holder with a spinning bulldog. Rating wise, the dog standing out. Stevie not far behind. Jack Holder's in like a mid-30s now. Zippy's almost hitting 40, so not bad to be honest. Overall, I'll take it. But we're starting the show very strong. Gets the crowd horse show off to a strong start, and it's Ernest the champ. He's out solo in the ring, essentially calling out Hangman after what Hangman did at the end of last episode. After Ernest successfully defended his belt against Mutant, he gets attacked. The lights turn off and you get attacked by a returning Hangman. Now Hangman doesn't come out, but Ernest basically lets him know. He knows exactly what he wants, Hangman didn't say one word, but it was made very obvious that he's got his eyes on the title. So Ernest says to him, you want it. Then in King in the Castle, me against you, buddy, you can come and get it. And obviously, the crowd pops. We're locked in, advances the storyline. Essentially, without it being verbally confirmed, it's confirmed. Hangman in Ernest at King in the Castle for the World Heavyweight Championship title. Then we get a bit of a filler match, more for the boost, gets the crowd hotter, does the job. 59 segment is to keep boosting up Landon. who of course is very, very, very over in Europe, in the UK, but we obviously need to do a bit of work with him to this rather unknown audience towards him. Pretty good ratings though, 50 for Hawkeye, who also needs a little bit of a boost, but it's Landon who takes the win. 56 rated, benefits from a hot new move. Very good match, 59. It'll help get Landon over as well. Then we got Laura, of course, new manager of Zap. Basically, it's basically essentially her work in sort of negotiating, you could say, that's managed to land Zap in this 6-man King in the Castle tournament. And she's basically having a little pep talk, you could say, with Zap, going over the game plan, you know. It's a big opportunity for him, and, you know, together is working as a team, essentially. They can get the job done because all they got to do is finish in the top 3 to get in that triple threat match to have a chance. 60 rated segment. She didn't do great going off script, but I feel like she's kind of like Anna, the other manager, where they can actually do really good without a script, but then they also sometimes don't do great. But 60 rating still solid. Obviously, we'll have Zap in action tonight. All 3 King in the Castle matches tonight. Their first sort of qualifying tables match, you could say. Get some points on the table, hopefully. Good wrestling, decent reaction. Conan Kruger beats Blue Dragon. Again, similar to Landon, with some of the new and exciting talent we brought over from 21 CW. And speaking of Anna, she does some good work at ringside with Conan. He's another one very similar to Zap as well, where 1v1, he's of course unbeaten. They obviously had a bit of a chance last month. Zap and Conan and stuff were in the Toby Cornell Jr. were in that 5-man Great Lakes Championship match. So it's obviously huge for Zap to go from that to then get wheeled and dealed, get his way into that King in the Castle 6-man tournament. But Conan is similar. He hasn't lost 1v1. Pretty good ratings here. Match got carried a little bit more with Blue Dragon hitting a 56, but huge win for Conan to beat someone like Blue, who's obviously pretty well known here. So that'll be a huge statement win, popularity wise, for Conan. Pretty solid 73 here. Young and wasted. I really like these guys, as you know. They get the win. Jules Knight takes the pinfall with the go home from Brett Kyle. 70 from Taylor, 65 from Brett. Good stuff here. No complaints for the 73. Then we get the massive boos to the tag team champs, who basically came in and took the tag team division hostage, essentially. You know, they got their hands wrapped firmly around his neck right now, to everyone's shock as well. They came out, cut a promo, getting themselves over, hyping themselves up, and then, as they've been able to do so far since joining, they back it up. Both members of Hot Property were off their game, but they also lose. Mass Hulk and Mark get the win. I'll start trying to boost these guys up. Obviously, 60 from Mark, 53 from Mass Hulk. We get a 56 from Byron too, pretty solid, considering he's off his game. Same with Lachlan, the ratings aren't actually horrible. 62 segment rating. It's another win for the tag champs. Then we got a little backstage promo. Anna does very, very well with her hot catchphrase scripted segment with Conan, of course, her client in the background, essentially also getting themselves over after Conan's very impressive win tonight. So this is a huge plus for these guys this week. Conan's really making some good progress, big statement. And we have the first of many we'll see this episode, King in the Castle matches. It's Zap Powerson and Papa Swole. And as you can see, they hit the 15-minute time limit, so they draw. The first King in the Castle match is in fact a draw. So Papa Swole essentially would obviously be the big favourite going into this, way more over than Zap. But Zap being very, very good, as we said, one-on-one, he's unbeaten. He essentially was always getting overlooked at SWF, and he's not here to be overlooked with PWW. And it's actually it's a huge draw, to be honest. A bit of a shock. The Papa Swole couldn't get the job done in the 15 minutes. So the first match of the tournament is in fact 1 point for Zap and 1 point for Papa Swole. Good ratings as well, actually. I'm about to sneeze, I think. Oh my god, I hope that wasn't loud. My fault, guys, my fault. Jesus. Anyway, 66. Considering it was a bit of a tainted finish with the draw, pretty solid stuff though. Zap's getting there. He's definitely getting there, as we saw. I think he's up to about 40 odd pop, so he's gaining. He's starting to sort of jump up like a rocket on the popularity scales. Then we got Dawn backstage, essentially announcing she was quite impressed by Young and Wasted tonight, and she's all about promoting the young talent that's coming up from PWW. She essentially self-announces them as being the number one contenders. She's happy, she's impressed with them, and she thinks they should be fighting against Men of Steel at King in the Castle. So Young and Wasted, essentially, through the eyes of the GM, are locked in to fight Mark Adonis and Mass Hulk for the belts at King in the Castle. Advances the storyline. Dawn, as always, does very good. 77 rated segment in her office. Good stuff. Then we essentially have Ant-Man, who of course almost lost his belt last episode. It was Tommy Cornell Jr. who was about to pin Wicked Lester, and at the last minute he got thrown off by Ant-Man in that 5-way hardcore match. And Ant-Man, obviously both these guys being faces, he essentially announces he's out in the ring, chatting away, and Tommy Cornell Jr. comes out. And after they have a bit of a back and forth, Ant-Man, he's all about giving out chances. Papa Swole gave him a big chance when he joined the promotion to fight against him, just like he did with Tommy Cornell Jr. And then the sense of good karma, and the fact that Ant-Man is a huge fan too. He's like a huge inspiration of his was Tommy Cornell Jr.'s dad, Tommy Cornell, growing up. And he sees a lot of potential in Tommy Cornell Jr. too, and he wants to give him the chance to fight for the belt, because he's obviously still very, very short in his career. He's not even been a fully fledged professional wrestler for a year, but the fans love him. Ant-Man's all about, as he said, giving out the chances. He wants to promote good while he's the champ, while he's the Great Lakes champ. So it's essentially locked in. Ant-Man and Tommy Cornell Jr. 1v1 at King in the Castle, the Great Lakes Championship title. As we then move into the second of our third King in the Castle match, and about that had superb wrestling and great heat, it's Logan Wolfsbane who beats Davis Wayne Newton in 13 minutes 39 by pinfall, after a distraction from his buddy of the Steel Circle and tag team partner Austin Smooth. So it's a very tainted win. We get an 82 rating, by the way. That's I think 83 is the highest ever. So really, really good stuff there. Logan with a 76, 71 from Davis. Davis gets a little bit shafted here with the distraction. The outnumbers game comes into hand, and Logan is the first man of the tournament to pick up 3 points, as Davis tonight walks away with a 0. So huge. And then next up, we have the Architect working the crowd. This should be the Architect and Tennessee Williams, but it looks like I forgot to add them because these two guys are main eventing. They're up next. The last match of the show, the last match for week 1 King in the Castle tournament matches. It's Architect against the ever in form, fire hot Tennessee Williams. Architect, obviously, he gets an 81. He does huge. We may be on par to have our best show yet. And I booked this. I'm not going to lie, boys. I booked this so fast. But yeah, let's see how the match itself does, because Architect and Tennessee Williams, they're capable of pulling in absolutely crazy ratings right now, so this could be humongous. Okay. Oh, that is a horrible, horrible. Oh no. Creative finish was a success. We still get an 80, which I am not going to argue. That is huge. But in about that superb wrestling and great heat, it's the Architect who beats Tennessee Williams with 20 seconds of the match to go by submission after blatantly cheating. And of course, not only is it part of the King in the Castle tournament, but it's the second win of today. To be honest, we have not seen this very often. The sort of awkward, bad chemistry between 1v1 competitors, but that's really nasty that we have it with two guys like Tennessee and Architect who could essentially have timeless classic after timeless classic against each other. So that's a real shame. But really, really good match. Tennessee Williams almost, after a very, very close back and forth match, we were almost at the 15-minute mark where it would have been a draw. He would have took away 1 point, but Architect pulls in the loss here, pulls in the loss for Tennessee anyway. Fans are disappointed with storylines further in the show, but none really had dramatic stakes. That was because it was all pretty much the new number one contenders were all announced. It was mostly through angles rather than like number one contenders tonight. Just mixing it up. Show benefited though. 80 rated overall. We're going to go up. This should be the one that we go up to as well. We're actually going to give this to the Architect. He did really good even in his angle. We'll also give it to trying to think. No one really could use it necessarily for morale purposes. I kind of want to give it to Logan, but I feel like I just gave it to him. You know what? Papa Swole did pretty good, and we'll also give it to maybe Anna for the work on the promo. As always, tell them they're awesome. Architect didn't really care. Papa Swole was pleased though. Okay, not bad. Financial, we take 23,000. Popularity, we do go up to 51. So yeah, there we have it. The first round. Obviously there'll only be 4 kickoff carnage shows, but potentially there's 5 opponents they could fight. I know about this. It's just the way it works out. So there'll obviously be some guys that won't fight against one other person on the table, because we're only obviously doing it on 4. It's just the way it's working out, but I quite like this idea. I obviously want to do like a big grand stage thing for the 2 belts. So we have obviously the Rumble, the Crown and Glory is all focused around the Great Lakes, and then we'll have King in the Castle, which is solely focused around the World Heavyweight Championship, with the odd 1 or 2 guys thrown in the mix to give them an opportunity that they maybe otherwise wouldn't be able to get. Hence, Zap Powerson on this occasion is the one who's sort of been thrown in the mix. Obviously, ideally, later on he would be there, but at the minute he's not quite. So it's like a huge opportunity for him. But yeah, we got it locked in. Tommy Cornell Jr. will challenge for the belt. Young and Wasted will challenge for the tag belts. And we got Hangman, the King in the Castle, challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship. Okay, show number 2. We are jumping straight into it. Like I said, there's a lot to go through. 5 shows this episode in front of a bumper crowd from last. 400 more in attendance. Pretty decent pre-show segment to start us off. Jack Holder, Kamikaze, scripted. 46, not too shabby. Then we got Bowden and Reese Pendragon. We haven't really seen much of Reese, but we are slowly building him up. We're getting there. A 47 rating. Bowden Snoop does get the win in this occasion though. Someone else we're also, trying to give time to get the experience going for them. And the only way to do that is get them in matches. We're pretty much fully booked on the pre-show as well, which will be probably more or less every single show now. going forward, if I'm being honest. 46 up next, Hawkeye Calhoun beats Josh. Hawkeye was off his game. He was really off his game. He only gets a 39, which is low even for him, but he does get the win. Hopefully it'll help boost him up with momentum, especially his momentum will do much better once we get Vibe Tribe sort of locked in into the main show with segments and stuff if he's a part of them. That'll help a lot as well. Then we got a unscripted angle here. Forrest Charmer cutting a promo. He actually does really good considering he's not over at all. But his stats obviously are very good, as we know. He's one of the brightest ever graduates of 21 CW. And arguably maybe so far is getting a little bit overlooked by me with so many big potential names on the roster. Forrest should be someone probably pushed a little bit harder than he has been so far, but he does get a very good. Oh no, he doesn't. I think I've been getting in the habit of not booking winners for the pre-show, so this is a bit of a mistake on my part. Forrest does really good though, a 55. He loses to Jules Knight, but it's not really going to affect him because Jules Knight is quite a bit ahead of him in popularity, luckily. Good match though, which is the main thing in this instance. A 55 for Forrest is pretty solid. Can't really complain. Then we got our, I believe this is the last, and it's the excellent chemistry team up of Jack Holder and Kamikaze back in action. They do lose though to Hot Property, and we have an injury, a herniated spinal disc. That is not. I think that's like a year injury. I might be wrong, but yeah, the segment took a bit of a hit because of the injury. Kamikaze gets a 52 though. Okay. This is going to be interesting. I hope the main thing I hope is that it wasn't a botch, because Jack obviously we know is quite green. I hope it's not been him that's injured Lachlan. It didn't say, so I'm assuming no. But that's a bit of a very sour end to the pre-show. We're starting off the main show though. Mark Adonis doing most of the talking. For the tag team champs, essentially just dogging on their upcoming number one contenders, Young and Wasted, and essentially just dogging on the promotion and the whole tag team division as they have been doing since joining, giving a bit more screen time to Mark and Massier on the mic rather than in the ring. Pretty good 64 rating. Mark does a masterful job improvising interactions with the crowd, so no complaints there. As we move into a giant Brody one-sided smash and grab, gets the crowd hotter. Very big win for Giant Brody to give him more pop, which is at this point a huge slugfest. Mainly because half the month, as you guys know, I've been ranting about it for a little while now. Is he's not here. He's with BCG. I think his tour comes to an end very, very soon though. So hopefully we'll see more of him. We can boost him higher up the card and actually gauge a really much better idea of how good he can actually be in the ring. Gets the win though against regular Joe. Huge win in terms of boosting his popularity. And then another win for Landon Mallory, who's on pretty solid ground at the minute. With his hot new move, gets the crowd hotter. Yeah, he's getting pushed. Maybe not as hard as the likes of Conan Kruger, but Landon's another one I really, really like. I believe your 59 rated match gets the win over Remy. And then we have him in a little segment, cutting a promo. Fairly short because his popularity is not high enough for the crowd to have a want to see him. So doing a 5-minute angle in a normal sized length match wasn't really going to cut it. It was a little bit shorter, but 58 is pretty good considering our size and our minimum requirements that I set, like on the shows. 58 is definitely not bad. Going into a pretty solid match, decent reaction. It's Marco Gonzalez of the Blueprint. I believe one of the first times we've seen him in 1v1 action since joining the Blueprint. 62 in-ring performance, which is solid stuff too. He gets the win over Ozzy Goldstein. Much, much more experienced than Marco, but good win for Marco, getting more momentum not just for him, but also back on the Blueprint stable, which has been a little bit lacking of late. Then we get the first time we've seen him in a very, very long time. It's the Hangman, of course, the number one contender to Ernest Youngman's heavyweight championship title. It's a chokeslam finish. He beats Historian. 73 rated match. Hangman pulls in a 67-63 from the Historian. And it's a good, essentially a comeback win for Hangman. The first time we're seeing him, obviously. Fight since, gosh, I don't actually know. Oh, maybe since he fought Papa Swole, and then it was a month before that was the last time we saw him. So he's really not fighting a lot. Obviously with the little changes we've been doing to him, and we're coming up on his turning him. Obviously, we'll definitely see him more now going forward. I don't want to have such a big gap in between how often we see him, because Hangman he's quite young too. I believe he's only about 27, 28, and he's someone similar to Marco Gonzalez, where if you use them right and give them a lot of experience and match time, they could turn into be very good workers. As obviously, it's a testament to the fact Hangman is the number one contender right now. Good match though. Then we get the first match of the show of our King in the Castle tournament. And in superb wrestling and good heat, the Architect draws with Zap Iverson in 15 minutes when the time limit expired. During the match, we also had Marco Gonzalez come in and distract Zap, but it wasn't enough to get the job done. Laura, of course, did some good work at ringside, which she obviously, even though it's not noted, you can imagine trying to immerse yourself in the match. She's probably doing her best to help Zap too. With Architect essentially having more people to help him, but he can't get the job done. Architect obviously won the very first match last match. He managed to get the job done. Zap took a draw against Papa Swole, and he's drew again, so he's still not been beat. Obviously proving to be a very, very hard guy to beat in 15 minutes. Architect can't do it, and neither could Papa Swole. Good rating though, 74. Architect pulls us up with a 78 in ring. Zap hits a 60. Really good stuff. Then we move into our 3 versus 3. It's the Great Lakes champion teaming up with the tag team champions to go up against both number one contenders of the tag and Great Lakes belts. 71 rated match, and it's actually the number one contenders who get the win over the champions. Tommy Cornell Jr. pins the Great Lakes champion Ant-Man clean after, of course, Ant-Man last week essentially offered him the chance after impressing in the 5-man hardcore match, and he's obviously proves to be a pretty big shock. The 18-year-old has pinned the Great Lakes champ, which they'll of course go 1v1 against each other at King in the Castle. Ratings wise, we're still lacking a little bit behind with the tag champs. Mass Hulk 51, Mark now with a 63. That's really good. Ant-Man pulls in a wicked 75, one of his highest ratings yet. 73 from Taylor, 66 from Tommy Cornell Jr., which is really good, and then Brett on a 62, which obviously we advance on both storylines, so he won't get penalised. On that, Brett Kyle's also getting better at his gimmick, which is really good. 71, I'll take it, considering with the tag team champs, we're still trying to obviously get them over. As you know, it's a ongoing project at the minute. But 71's huge. And an 81 segment rating after Tommy Cornell Jr. after pinning the Great Lakes champ, essentially just getting himself over, hyping up his upcoming title match with Ant-Man. Really good. This is this is huge. We obviously know Tommy's really, really good on the mic. He's really good at everything, but it's the first time we've actually seen it play out that way, which is a good sign. His popularity and stuff is starting to get to where it needs to be in order to consistently pull in these ratings, so that's really good. Then he gets overshadowed a little bit with the main man himself, Papa Swole, with his hot catchphrase as well. He pulls in a 92, hyping up himself before he's up next, fighting Logan Wolfsbane in his King in the Castle match. He obviously drew his first one with Zap, and we had Logan, he won his opening match against Davis Wayne Newton. So let's see how the match does. After a huge 92 rated segment, he can talk the talk, but can Papa back it up and pick up his first 3 points or put any points on the board? In a 71 rated match, Superb Wrestling great, it is Papa Swole. He beats Logan by pinfall with a roll up, and it's mainly because we had a bit of a botched interaction during the match. We also had Austin Smooth, the tag team partner, of course, to Logan, who helped him win last week. This week it's not the case. He loses him the match by accidentally hitting him, which initially gives Papa Swole the chance to roll Logan up for the win, with a minute and a half left to go in the match before it would have been a draw. Austin essentially gave Logan 3 points, and now he's gave him 0 points. So it's a bit of a sort of good and bad scenario there. Logan with a 72, Papa 68. Good match, and it's 3 points on the board for Papa. That actually takes him above Logan now, because he has 4. Logan sits on 3. I'll also, after this match, now that we've had 2, we'll start running through the table before every show, so you guys can see where everyone's at, which I think will be good. But commentary quality lifted the match too. Color commentary, as always, which is really good now. Our announced team commentary team is looking solid, to be honest. Then next up, the elaborate entrance main event. Tennessee Williams, 83 rated segment, makes his intro. He's main eventing tonight again. He obviously fought Architect last week, and this week it's a bit of a rematch. He's up against Davis Wayne Newton, who, of course, as you guys know, last month Tennessee Williams, in what was probably a huge shock and the biggest win of his career so far, he beat Davis Wayne Newton in 1v1 action, and they're up against each other again tonight. Will it be a repeat, or can Davis Wayne get some revenge? And in a 78 rated match, creative finish was a success. We actually had Tennessee Williams win again with 40 seconds left in the match. He pins Davis Wayne Newton with a Devil's Crossroad. So huge win again for Tennessee Williams. 78 rated, which I believe is the best match of the card. But huge win for Tennessee. He gets the highs with a 72. Davis on 68. We still get that. I think we'll actually maybe just upgrade music. I know it's like 25 grand a month, but at this point, we're good for it. And I don't really like the fact that we'll keep getting the penalisation message. I'll maybe do that at the end of the month. But yeah, 79 rated show overall. Really, really good. As expected, we had some really good segments too. Tommy Cornell Jr. did really good. Tennessee as well. Obviously, Papa Swole and his promo. Yeah, I can't really complain, to be honest. It was overall solid stuff. Which makes me think now, for addressing the locker room, who could really use it? The likes of Papa could do with it, but he's just had it. Tommy Cornell Jr. did really good. Tennessee Williams has not long had it. He also did pretty solid work. We're going to actually give it to Taylor. We'll give it to we'll give it to Marco. He's coming along nice. And we'll also give it to Landon Mallory, why not? His segment wasn't too horrible either, considering. Tell them all they're awesome. Oh, nice. It took a positive effect on Landon. That's good. 1 out of 3 is fine. I'll take it. Right, so injury review, yeah. Not quite a year, but Lachlan Barrett is going to be out until August of next year. So it's pretty much almost a year, which is a huge blow, because Hot Property, as much as they weren't quite Hot Property at the minute within the promotion, they're one of the younger tag teams that were managing to get them in action a fair bit and keep building them up. They also, obviously, we have Sam Keith, and I believe Grim Quibble is essentially the mentors of both Lachlan and his tag team partner, which was essentially, they're obviously giving them tips on the mic, psychology, so like they're getting boosted even faster with the sort of cushy backroom morale and stuff, backstage, sorry, morale, and mentors and Obviously, they were the proteges, so it's a bit annoying. We did release both members of the hot tags when obviously I think was it a concussion? Yeah, one of them got a major concussion and we released them both. But I'm not going to release them both in this case. I think I don't know why, but the hot property who is hot property? It's Lachlan Barrett and why am I drawing a blank on what the other guy's name is? I don't know why. But I think we'll actually maybe use this is really annoying me that I've just forgot his name. But yeah, the hot property the other half of hot property will probably actually still use him maybe in singles competition. Since obviously his mentor is still with us and we can still essentially build him up. And when Lachlan returns, we can see where we're at in terms of linking them back together, depending on the singles push of Lachlan's tag team partner, which I still can't remember his name. That's really annoying me. And I can't check right now. Finance report though, almost 30k with the nice bump of 400 people to ticket sales. We also, as expected, go up another point, so that's 2 popularity points for the month. But yeah, huge bummer on the hot property injury, but the show is advancing nicely, and I will make sure to show you guys the King in the Ring table. Now that we're halfway through, there's only 2 more matches of that to go before we're determining the top 3 guys. Will fight it out to be crowned the first ever King in the Ring champion. Alright, here we go, it's time. Starting off, pretty huge pre-show. It really should have been on the main card, this one, with the 64 rating, but, needs must when it comes to filling up our hour and a half slot in front of 2,400 people. It's the return of the past masters. We haven't seen them both together for quite a bit. And they get the win, teaming up with Bowden and Ozzy Goldstein. Pretty good ratings as expected. Sandman Wicks gets a 68, 59 for his partner, Historian. Nate DeMarcus also gets a 59. Blue Dragon with a 58. Tyrone Gray, 57. So that little bump that the DeMarcus and Gray had for their title shot helped quite a lot, which is good to see. Those little spurts of 1 month of pushing someone can do quite a good job, which is quite surprising considering we're on Wrestle World, which is sort of like the middle ground. You have pay-per-view, which is focused solely on making money. Then you've got public broadcasters, which is solely pretty much popularity. And then the internet or the subscription is the middle ground. And I'm quite surprised so far that you do actually make quite a decent amount of pop, to be honest. But pre-show starts off very well. Like I say, should have probably been on the main card, but needs must. 64 rating into a Hawkeye Calhoun improvised segment, 52 rating. Pretty decent considering with his pop and everything, and the match itself does pretty decent too. He beats Jack Holder with a 51 in-ring performance with a home run finisher, getting another dub for the Vibe Tribe. As we then move into the big one, it's the main card. Dawn, as usual, starting us off, introing the match, running over tonight's card. Of course, we got all 3 King in the Ring matches. Gets the crowd hot, show off to a strong start. She doesn't do well without a script, which is a bit of a hit or a miss at the minute, but she still pulls in an 82, so I will not complain. As we move into our first match, and it's also the return of the LA Stars. We haven't really seen them actually since they lost their belts to the Men of Steel. As expected though, they do pretty good. LA Star 2 seemed off his game, pulls in a 68, but they actually lose tonight, also against Minnesota Awesome, who we haven't seen in a while. They're teaming up with the very hot Conan Kruger. He is in form right now since joining the promotion, and he also gets the pin on Kamikaze. Kamikaze was also the weak link. That's quite surprising. 49 for Kamikaze. And I did good work at ringside with Conan. Conan pulls in a 62. That's really good. 67, 68. Yeah, these are all good stuff. Kamikaze's a little bit low, but yeah, he gets carried hard to 73. good sort of match time as well for LA Stars and the Minnesota Awesome. As we then have a decent filler match with the now solo Byron Holland, of course, his tag team partner Lachlan uh, is injured. He's out for, I think it's about 10 months, so we won't be seeing him for a while. We probably won't really see much of Byron either. Byron's the better in ring performer in Hot Property, but he's got no real charisma or star quality or anything, whereas Lachlan does. That's where he shines. So I'm not sure if we'll see much, if any, of a push from Byron. It'll probably be more a stepping stone for guys like Forrest to keep pushing themselves up the card. And it's a win, of course, for Forrest with a Lucky Charm 57 rating. Gets the job done. Then we get a bit more of an advancement. Of course, Tommy Cornell Jr. cleanly pinned the champion Ant-Man, who he'll be facing at King in the Castle. We have a nice little segment advancing the storyline. Tommy Cornell Jr. being interviewed backstage. 69 segment rating. Good improvising from Tommy. Gets the job done again. You know, just nothing crazy. Just to further this storyline. He's basically going over the fact, Ant-Man's not here tonight. And Tommy's not in action, but he's fresh, he's ready to go, and he's excited to get that 1v1 title shot against Ant-Man. Then we have the tag team champs. They get the win over Vibe Tribe here. 63 rated match. We're slowly seeing them get up there. The Doc is a 55. Stevie with a 51. Pretty good stuff. Mark pulls in a 61. Mass Hulk, who gets the pin on Dr. Funkenstein with the Atomic Raker, as they have been doing since joining the promotion. Any means necessary. Any means at all in order to get the win. The tag team champs on the lead up to fighting, of course, Young and Wasted. That's exactly what they do. And after, of course, they essentially lost the 3 vs 3 match last week with Young and Wasted, I believe, anyway. It's been a whole day since I last recorded the last episode, so I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they did lose the 3 vs 3. With, of course, Tommy Cornell Jr. pinning Ant-Man. Or am I wrong? Oh my god, I don't know if I'm wrong now. Anyway, we do have a bit of a brawl afterwards. They end up getting attacked after the match. Of course, Young and Wasted, they don't really play by the rules either. And they're obviously getting a bit of revenge back, beating the tag team champs while they're down, but it turns more into a brawl rather than a one-sided beatdown. They don't necessarily really beat them down. It's more the security get involved, and it turns into a big fiasco of just punching big lumps into each other. Not a huge segment rating, as expected for that kind of thing. Then we got 2 members of the Blueprint, Marco and Giant Brody, teaming up. Of course, Architect is in the King of the Castle, tournament, so he essentially he's essentially not going to be teaming up with Giant Brody. Marco's taking his place, and they get the job done though. Marco Gonzalez with the submission on Jules Knight. Rating wise, it's looking quite good. Giant Brody with a 57, 58 for Cobra 2, 62 for Marco. Really good stuff. 65 segment rating. Keeping the Blueprint hot. Then we have a bit of an interesting backstage segment. The Steel Circle. Of course, Logan's in the King of the Castle, which is in theory a little awkward, because if he wins the King in the Castle match, he fights his long-term friend and rival and faction co-member in Ernest Youngman. So they basically are going back and forth about that. It's a bit tense with Austin Smooth in the middle. Because Austin Smooth is in action tonight against Hangman, so Ernest is, running through the game plan, because he'll be at ringside, sort of scouting out who's number one contender, and he basically lets Logan know, he's not mad or whatever about the fact that Logan's essentially fighting for another chance at the belt. It is what it is, and they kind of just shake hands and It's a bit tense, but nothing really comes of it. And speaking of that, actually, as you can see here, I made a little table. Let me bring it up. Oh, that is not what I meant to do. Oh my god, now I've lost my table. Can't believe you've done this. Right, well, there's the table there. To give you guys a slight rundown, I don't know what's happened. I did minimize it, but I've messed up. Speaking of Logan, he's sitting on 3 points. Tennessee's on 3, and then Architect and Papasol, who are also they're actually fighting tonight. The old rivalry will get ignited. They're both on 4. Zap's on 2 from 2 draws, and Davis, out of all people, it's Davis Wayne Newton, who's down on 0, which is pretty wild. I'm just going to set this right here. We can bring it back up when we need to. But yeah, pretty decent segment here, 62. Logan improvised well. So there's like a little bit of a weird tension going on because it's obviously an awkward situation for them both to be in. But Logan, of course, was elected to be in the tournament. He didn't essentially like sign up for it to backstab Ernest in the back. So I think that's something Ernest realizes. But moving on from that, we have the first matchup. It's Zap and Davis Wayne Newton. And it goes to a draw. The third draw in a row for Zap Powerson, and the first point on the board for Davis Wayne Newton as we now go in to what will be their final match next week. Davis is in real jeopardy of falling outside the top 3 already with only 1 point on the board. The match itself gets a really good 75 rating. As they go with the time limit, 15 minutes, of course. So, like I mentioned, it's a draw. 72 in-ring performance from Davis, 62 from Zap. So really good stuff. Zap's obviously lagging a little bit behind with the points, but he's still way in contention with one more match to go. If he gets probably one more draw or even a win, he's in with a massive shot of being in the top 3. Davis, on the other hand, needs a win on his last match next week to stand any chance of being in it. Then we get Hangman and Austin Smooth. A really solid match here. Of course, Austin Smooth he's a really good worker. I feel like he can put on good matches with anyone. But the number 1 contender, Hangman, who's looked on a different level since returning as a heel. He gets the win, chokeslam finish. 78 rated match, but then after the match, of course, with Ernest being ringside, he tries to jump in the ring with the help of Logan on one side. Austin's back up, Ernest on the other. And as they're getting closer and they're about to jump Hangman, out of nowhere, the lights just turn. Hangman also doesn't look phased. He's just standing there in the middle of the ring, kind of just staring at Ernest. And as the lights go out, when they turn back on, like a couple seconds later, Hangman's just gone. He's just not. He's not in the ring anymore. He's just totally disappeared. Much to the surprise, obviously, of the Steel Circle members. They all just sort of look at each other in disbelief. Where the hell is he? He's just disappeared. He's gone, and he doesn't reappear. He's just gone. As the segment ends, 58, they then move into the second King in the Castle match. The hype up here, as we can see from the scores, Papa and Architect currently lead. So this is a huge match 3 for both of these guys to essentially take the lead. The winner will take the lead, and pretty much if someone wins this match, they're pretty much guaranteed to at least be in, guarantee a spot to be in the triple threat match. Huge segment rating as expected. I'm getting like nostalgia flashbacks here with these two. As of course the first, like 2, even 3 years of our company, pretty much up until this year, 2025. 2023 and 24 were massively surrounded, and the main scene was revolving around these two guys. The match itself, though, oh my god, our best ever rated match. And what 2 people? There's not actually any other people I would prefer to be in the best rated match than these 2. And speaking of our tournament, we do actually get a winner. There's no draws today. Superb wrestling in great heat, the Architect beats Pappas Wool by submission with a blueprint after interference from Marco. Obviously, as expected, everyone's doing everything they can in order to get the wins. You know, any means necessary, cheating, getting their friends to help them, because this is huge. Every single point on the board counts massively. I'm quite surprised we got an 84, but I was quite smart in making it a distraction during the match rather than interfering with the end of the match. But pretty much carried to an 84 by Architect with this huge 84. His 82 in ring rating, sorry, 84, massive. Couldn't be happier actually for the fact that it's these two, which now puts Architect on 7 points. So it's not. I don't know if it's mathematically. Yeah, it probably is, more or less. He's pretty much confirmed to be one of three in the triple threat match, fighting for the first ever King in the Castle win, to be crowned the first ever King in the Castle champ, which we know Architect would love that. He's been not really on a bit of a downward spiral recently, but he's not really been featured as the sort of main guy, of course, with Ernest just holding the main event hostage. This guy is, at the minute, seems unstoppable. Although it did take Ernest going as far as cheating to beat the Architect, just like he had to do against Mutant in their ultimate death match. So he's definitely getting, like, it's not super clear. Ernest is obviously dominating against a lot of guys, but not everyone. And obviously it's working in his favour even more now, the fact he has Logan and Austin by his side, but it's looking a little awkward because how's Logan going to react if he wins the tournament and they have to fight each other? How will that affect the Steel Circle already? Anyway, main event match would be hard. It was always going to be hard to beat that co-main event, but the reason I set this match up in this order was because I actually honestly thought this would be the highest rated match of the night, and it does get a huge rating, to be fair. And we actually have another win. It's Logan Wilsbane with almost deja vu. He also has help. He beats Tennessee Williams with a belly to belly suplex, but during the match we had Austin Smooth, who of course lost earlier in the night. He's helping him, getting the win, putting another 3 points on the board, which is huge. He really needs it, to be honest, to cement himself. So he's 1 point behind Architect on 6, which I will, of course, going into the next Kickoff Carnage show, the last of the month, we'll have an updated list here and you guys will be able to see the table going into the last 3 matches. But huge win for Logan, as Tennessee still sits on 3 points, so he's definitely not out. We'll have Tennessee on 3. Zap will be drawing with him on 3 points as well. And then obviously we've got Davis on 1. Pappas will still on 4, so it's still all to play for. But huge win to end the show, which probably here is going to be our best, our best rated show. 84. Wow. Yeah, no surprises, to be honest. Yeah, we did really, a lot of our matches did really good. I think going forward though, the more the company progresses, I have a very big hunch that our best month of the year in terms of overall consistent matches will probably be this month, with the fact we'll be doing the King in the Castle tournament with like the best guys on the roster, essentially. We're going to give some good ones out here. I think we'll go Hangman. We'll actually go Austin Smooth too. And we'll also give it out to one thing worth noting, by the way, which is very annoying, is Logan Wilsbane, for no reason whatsoever, is irritated again. His morale's changed and went back into the negative, which might have had a little tiny bit of an effect on his performance, even though it did look very good. It was a very good match. I think he got a 71, didn't he? And Tennessee Williams got a 78, so maybe not, but he's starting to really annoy me. I don't know if it's to do with his prickly personality, but I don't know what his problem is. He's still irritated about a booking decision that was over a year ago. It was in like June of last year. The guy needs to get a grip. But anyway, 30k, pretty much in profit. Popularity, we're still obviously taking a little bit of pop and a couple other bits. Um, Someone did mention in the comments about rearranging the structure of our month to essentially do like our monthly show first to essentially make more pop, but I'm going to keep it the way it is because it essentially doesn't matter what order you do it. You know, because your popularity is capped every month to earn a certain amount based on the coverage your shows have, etc. So being on Wrestle World, we don't have loads of coverage. So going up one pop a month and then two and then one and then two is essentially the best we're going to get on our current setup, regardless of how I structure the shows. Um, and if you get to the point by the end of the month, by like your last show, you're not taking any pop in the regions you can take pop, you're essentially doing it right. You're essentially squeezing out every single decimal point of popularity you possibly can based on your setup. So there's no need for us to change it right now. Maybe when we open up our own broadcaster, it's small coverage, which will be one above Wrestle World, then possibly things will change. But for now, we have the best setup we potentially can have. Alright, here we go. The go home show before King in the Castle. Slight downgrade on attendance, which is maybe worth noting. We obviously don't, we very rarely do 4 Kickoff Carnage shows. In fact, well, I say rarely, never. We never ever do it, so could be something to do with that, if I'm being honest. But pretty good start to the pre-show. It's mainly to boost up Reese Pendragon, who I realise has actually got pretty good skills on the mic. So after his win here against Josh Jacobs, 45 rating, we gave him a little promo to set him up. It was improvised. He actually gets all bonuses from it, but only a 36, mainly probably to do with the fact he only has around 20 pop in the Great Lakes, so that'll be a huge contributor to this. So it's not really that much of a worry. This is all good though, improvised well, so I can't really complain. Then the last of the pre-show, we got the Vibe Tribe, which now have the tag team specialist bonus because they officially now, I think they may have got it last time out and I've missed it and not noticed, but 15 experience now, so they get that bonus which will help them even more for their in-ring performance and whatnot, and they get the win in the pre-show match with Stevie Stanley defeating Graham Gorman. 57 for the Doc, 52 for Stevie, and then we get a little segment with the whole Vibe Tribe all rated afterwards. 66 ratings, probably pretty fair. Stevie, of course, not great on the mic, unlike the other three. But Zippy came across well. Hawkeye and Doc both improvised well. Everyone did great without a script apart from Stevie. Well, actually, he underperformed, but that's probably because he's so much lower on the ratings than these guys. But as you can see here, he says he improvised well, so yeah, he's probably been outshined by the others. But yeah, 66 ratings, huge. As we then go into the main card, 92 segment from the GOAT herself, the GM Dawn, basically running over the show. And as we have a little look here up the top right of the screen, going into the last week here, it's looking quite close. Architect and Logan Wolfsbane are through to the triple threat King in the Castle match. But as you can see, it's very close between Papa, Zap, and Tennessee. And it's also main event tonight, Papa Swole in Tennessee. So if Papa Swole can manage a draw or a win, he's pretty much more or less going to get that third spot because Zap has it all to do against Logan, I believe, or it's maybe Architect. One of the two. He's against one of the big guys, one of the leaders in the tournament so far. So lots of big matches on this last show before King in the Castle. Don starts us off great, 92, huge, into a 61 on 1, Wicked Lester. After, of course, his, I wouldn't really say it was a surprise return, more of a surprise cameo. to fight in the Bad Moon Rising Great Lakes Championship match. We won't really see much more of him. He'll be leaving soon, but it's a very, very, very good win for Landon Mallory to suck some of the pop away from him and help boost him up. He almost pulls in a 60 rating as well. Gets the crowd hotter. 60 segment, good start to the show. Can't complain. Good matchup. Good push for Landon into a 70 tag team. The number one contenders get the win against Cobra and Jules. Taylor and Brett high up there. 70-66. Good stuff. As of course they surprise attacked the tag team champs last week. Got into a bit of a brawl. After they of course beat them earlier in the month in the 3v3, so they have a huge momentum going into this tag match. Or the tag team title match. Speaking of tag team titles, the champs themselves, they were up next against Regular Joe and Ash. Good win for the champs. Adonis pins Regular Joe. Adonis also gets a 61 mass, still sitting on 51 a little. You can kind of see who's the weak link out of the two already. 46 for the losers tonight. Mass Hulk's also getting better at his gimmick, so that's huge. That'll really help too. But they get the job done in the match, their last match before going in to face Young and Wasted, defend their belt. We get a little back and forth in-ring promo here between Hudson and Tommy. Of course, Tommy, number one contender, up against Ant-Man. And these two are in the ring going back and forth because they're up against each other next. The new number one contender to Great Lakes against the old number one contender in Hudson Drake. 69 rated match is really good. Hudson benefits from his hot move. 62 from Tommy, 60 from Hudson. Really good stuff. Also, really good win for Tommy Cornell Jr. as well before he goes in to face Ant-Man. Then a 71. Let me bring this up so we can have a look. It's the first of three. And as you can see, it's game over for Zap Powerson, unfortunately. He takes his first loss of the tournament, but it comes at not really a cost, but it's not clean at all. Logan Wheelspain beats him with a minute left on the clock when he was counted out after he was attacked by Marco. That essentially was the final nail in the coffin. It's a very cheap win, but Logan gets the job done to finish with 9 points. So he took 9 points out of a possible 12, Logan. Hugely down to the fact he was helped by the Steel Circle. More importantly, oh, I've also done this wrong. Logan was helped. It was supposed to be Austin, but I put it on Marco because obviously we're having Architect. Just ignore this. Just ignore this. This is Austin Smooth. But yeah, 3 out of the 4 wins for Logan's been hugely helped on by the fact that the Steel Circle has been helping him win the match. Is very similar to Architect. The Blueprint, you know, his homies have been helping him. Just like obviously that's the case for Logan here. So it's a loss for Zap, but not clean at all. He gets counted out. 71 rating as well. 61, 71, good stuff. Then we get a backstage interview from the tag team champs. They're doing their thing. Basically talking trash about Young and Wasted and pretty much the whole tag team division in general. Just dogging on everyone, talking smack, and doing a pretty good job. Mark improvised well. 58, pretty low, but that's only going to keep going up and up and up the more we get these guys over the line with pop. And then we have, for the first time this month, actually, the world champ Ernest Youngman teaming up with his Steel Circle teammate, and huge help to Logan this month, Austin Smooth. And they're up against Mutant, of course, old number one contender to Ernest, and he's teaming up with the very ominous Hangman. A 68 rating, which is of course penalised by the fact it ended when the match descended into chaos. Otherwise, it would have gone a pretty high rating. 70 from Hangman, 66 Austin, 68 Mutants, 76 for the champ. Storyline advances. But because of that, which is also why it's pretty far down in the card, it pulls in a 68. Which, of course, now is the last time they'll be up against each other. Because in just a couple of days' time, it's Hangman in earnest for the World Heavyweight Championship. Then we get an Architect with the whole blueprint in the ring. He's essentially bigging himself up and already talking about winning the King in the Ring and going on to get back the championship that should rightfully have been his, because he obviously still believes after he vacated the Great Lakes Championship to get in with a chance of winning it, which didn't work out for him. Obviously, he's still not over it, even though it was 10 months ago. As we know, Architect, he's quite prone to hold a grudge and not really forget things. 67, of course, we had everyone rated on it though. Background player seems to be the best thing to rate people on who aren't great in terms of microphone skills, because obviously you need them to be rated in order to take any kind of pop or any gains from segments, but it does sometimes really penalise it, because if Architect was doing this segment on his own, he would have gotten at least into the 70s, so that's a bit of a shame. But what's also a shame, not necessarily for Architect, is Davis, who was essentially already out of the tournament, as he only had 1 point. He obviously wants to go out with a bang, even though he's out. And after blood, sweat, and tears for 15 minutes, he just couldn't quite get the job done. Essentially, he's fighting 3 versus 1 when Architect's around, and the time limit expired. Architect, essentially laughing at him, mocking him. He doesn't care. He's taking 8 points away, finishing second on the table, all but guaranteeing his spot in the triple threat match, whereas Davis is officially finishing as the lowest man on the table in 6th place with only 2 points, which is definitely a big shock. He's really, you could say, not really underperformed, but when it's really mattered to get those big wins, he's not pulled it off. 74 rating, pretty decent considering the time limit. Finish, 81 for Architect. He's looking really good going into this. I think Architect, even though a lot of the year has been focused around Ernest, because he's been the champ for pretty much the whole year, but when we go into the end of year awards, I will not be surprised if Architect wins Wrestler of the Year again for the 3rd year in a row, because he's been so consistent with his in-ring performances. It's really impressive, honestly. But then next up is Papa Swole, Tennessee Williams, main event. Tennessee Williams needs to win this match, and if he does win it, he's the 3rd man in the triple threat match. Whereas if it's a draw or Papa Swole wins, then Papa Swole will be the 3rd man. Of course, one of these two will be joined by Architect and Logan Wolfsbane for that chance to be the next number 1 contender, which will then be, obviously, they'll be main eventing against the World Heavyweight Champ in the last show of the year, which is Seasons Beatings. Good rating though, good segment rating, good promo. Both of these guys getting rated on this, going back and forth. 76, and the match itself, remember, Tennessee wins, he goes through. Papa Swole wins, he goes through, and if they draw, Papa Swole goes through. So huge, it's in the huge favour of Papa Swole here. It's essentially his chance to work his way back up and get another real chance, because he's kind of been out of the title scene for a while. So he's 1 match away here from getting it done, whereas Tennessee Williams is arguably the most hot and informed guy in the whole roster right now. And he's obviously proving it, putting in good work on this tournament. 74 rated, so it's not great on the ratings card compared to last show, where we had our best matches ever and the best rated show. But creative finish was a success. Superb wrestling and great heat. Tennessee Williams beats Papa Swole. by pinfall with the Devil's Crossroad. 71 from Tennessee, 70 from Papa Swole. And there we have it. Tennessee Williams takes that third spot. He finishes on 6 points, 2 ahead of Papa Swole to get the job done. So huge. Not really a huge upset because the Tennessee Williams is really, I mean, he's doing a great job when coming up against the major stars. But it's a huge blow to the fan favourite, Papa Swole, as Tennessee Williams steals his chance for the time being and has basically just elevated himself right into the main event. Logan Wolfsbane, Architect, and Tennessee Williams. What a trio that is. Which will also be main eventing, by the way. Obviously, we usually do the World Heavyweight Champ, but in this case, with King in the Castle, the actual King in the Castle matchup will probably be main eventing the whole card. 80 rated show, so that's 100% nothing to complain about. I think the Dawn segment of 92 pushed it up, which is massive, to be honest. Alright, let's see. Who should we be giving these to? You know what? Tommy Cornell Jr. did pretty good. And we'll also give it to, you know what? We'll mix it up, even if they don't necessarily deserve it. We'll give it to the Vibe Tribe to celebrate the fact that they have a bit of a bonus when they're teaming up. And also, yeah, it's good to mix it up. Stevie was pleased, so that's good. And so was Dr. Funk, so it worked out perfect to get a morale boost. As we also take 28k in profits. Popularity, we're pretty much, yeah, we've almost sucked up everything we can, which makes sense after the 4th show this month. But there we have it. It's time, and we're going to jump straight to the next one. Last show of the month, King in the Castle. We got the 3 titles on the line, and of course that triple threat match, which is going to be huge. It's setting itself up to be huge anyway. You know, Architect, Logan, and Tennessee. If those guys turn up, we could be breaking our best ever rated match for the second time in one show, which shows the levels at how much we're progressing. So fingers crossed. Okay, it's time for the big one. Record attendance over 5,500 people, which is going to be a lot of ticket sales money in my pocket, so I'm happy. Starting off pre-show, of course. Arguably 3 of the worst guys we have on the roster in terms of in-ring performance. Well, actually, not Bowden, to be honest, not in-ring anyway. The Jack and Zippy definitely are down there, as you can tell by the ratings. But they do get the win. Zippy pinning Bowden Snoop. Bowden got a 48. He actually did really good, which is definitely worth noting. But a 51. Then we have a little segment with Zippy. It's a 60. Of course, he's pretty solid on the mic, so we're just trying to get him some more time, some more mic time. Gets the job done. 60. Very respectable. And then we get a not so respectable 49 out of Forrest Charmer. Not horrible though. The match itself with him in it gets a 55 against fellow 21 CW performer Reese Pendragon. Lucky Charm finish. He gets a 54 to 44 for both guys, which is pretty much as expected. Forrest is doing pretty good stuff as well. He's obviously getting a bit more of a push than what Reese has been getting so far, so it's just a similar situation, building these guys up. And then we start the main show. Also with a 59 is Landon Mallory, who will be in action first, teaming up with the LA Stars in our weekly, as Don likes to put it, the GM, our weekly 3 vs 3. He doesn't do great without a script, which is fair enough. I'll need to make sure to try and remember that going forward. 59's not horrible though. The match itself, as expected, does very good with the LA Stars involved, and they're up against the Vibe Tribe, or 3 of the members. Zippy, of course, won earlier in the show, but his fellow members lose today. Landon Mallory gets the pin on Stevie Stanley. 66 for Landon Mallory too, really good. The dog hits a 56 into the 70s for both members of the LA Stars, as expected. But yeah, pretty good. All Vibe Tribe members go over 50, which I'll take. Gets the crowd hotter. Good win for these guys. Good job on obviously boosting up Landon. 66 is actually huge. Probably helped the fact he had the likes of the LA Stars in his team to make him look even better, but that's really positive signs, to be honest. 71 for the first match of the night. Then we get a 63. Huge win for Conan Kruger. Also gets the crowd hotter. Does its job as expected, of course, boosting him over in front of 5,500 people. Huge win against regular Joe, who's definitely valued at being not a much more popular guy, but definitely more over than Conan. So could argue it's a win for the underdog, even though Conan is no underdog. Very similar trajectory to Zap Peverson, where he's very, very, very hard to beat 1v1. And by that I mean he's unbeaten. Conan has not lost 1v1. I don't actually think he's lost, period. I don't even think he's like been cheated out of a win or anything 1v1. Obviously, he has the huge help of Anna Garcia as his manager by his side. Good rating though, 63. I'll take it. Into a 79 filler match against one member of the Steel Circle in Papa Swole. He obviously was so close to getting into the triple threat match tonight, but he couldn't come over Tennessee Williams. All he had to do was win or draw, but Tennessee snatched the win off of him to get into that main event tonight. But good stuff here from Papa Swole. He gets the win over Austin. I feel like Austin always does really good. Like his matches always do really good, regardless if he wins or loses. He does only get a 64. Papa Swole with the 70. The creative finish obviously adds a lot to this one with a 79, which is very good. I'll take it. Good win for Papa as well. Good match, to be honest, overall. Then we get the GM getting interviewed backstage, essentially just going over the show, hyping it up, talking about how it's going so far. Very generic, very basic backstage interview. We're just trying to get Dawn screen time every single week, essentially because of her popularity, so that she makes us a little bit more money from merchandise. That's basically the whole point. And she is, of course, very good on the mic, and we can use her for storyline purposes and immersion and all that good stuff. So good stuff into that. Into another good filler match. I have a feeling, based on the finishes of our title fights tonight, that our filler matches they actually could be the best. It's another 79 with a creative finish success. Sandman Winks, who gets the win. His creative finish is a success. He's also getting better at his gimmick, so huge night for Sandman. He's also the number one guy in terms of in-ring performance, so he's had a huge night. They beat the Minnesota Awesome. I mean, 79 is not really a surprise. These two tag teams are very, very good. The Past Masters definitely benefited a lot from being in the Blueprint stable, and part of me kind of regrets kicking them out as quickly as I did, or as abruptly, but at the same time, they don't really need to be in it anymore. And it kind of made sense. I mean, and having them break up and then Architect fighting Sandman is still, I think, the best rated match we've ever done. The Texas Death Match the Sandman did with Architect. But anyway, good win for the Past Masters here, 79 rating, as we then head into the first tag team, well, first title match of the night. It's the tag team titles. Creative finish again was a success, and it's the Men of Steel who retain, making defense number 2. Essentially cheating. Mass Hulk pins Taylor after using a foreign object, so any means necessary, of course, for the Men of Steel, like they've done every single time they fight, pretty much. They get the job done. Taylor Norton gets a 78 in-ring rating. Levels ahead of everyone. Mark and Mass lagging massively behind everyone else, but again, we're just boosting these guys up. 77 ratings, huge. Carried, pretty much absolutely heavily carried by Taylor Norton. The guy's so good. but really good stuff, which means Men of Steel are only one defence away from matching all other tag team holders, who of course all have 3 defences. It's turning into a bit of a odd storyline type thing now. No one can beat the curse of getting more than 3 defences as the tag team champs, which just goes to show how dangerous and strong the tag team division is. But then we have it next, both guys in the ring. It's another big one. Huge opportunity for Tommy Cornell Jr. for his first taste of a championship. You know, he's got big shoes to fill if he wants to emulate and mirror his dad's success. He's going to have to win a lot of belts, and he's starting early, still only 18 years old. He has to go up against the Ant-Man. They've of course fought before as well. Tommy Cornell Jr. last month was so close to winning the Great Lakes belt, but it wasn't to be. Pretty decent stuff here, 68 ratings, not horrible. But the match itself, at essentially second time of asking, maybe even third for Tommy Cornell Jr., it's turned into a little mini feud for the last half of this year so far between Ant-Man and Tommy Cornell. The match gets a 74. But as you can see here, it doesn't necessarily count as a defense. I actually thought it would, but I was better to be safe than sorry here. It essentially is a draw. After Ant-Man draws with Tommy Cornell Jr. following a double countout. They essentially, with Ant-Man obviously having absolute brute strength, they've been battling back and forth, going at it for over 15 minutes, and then outside the ring, Ant-Man smashes Tommy Cornell Jr. through the table, the announcer's table, but he essentially messes himself up by doing so, and both guys get counted out by the ref. So the title does not change hands, but I actually thought it would technically count as a defence to Ant-Man because he's not lost the belt, so I'm a little bit annoyed that it's not, but I also didn't really want to risk anything or making any human mistakes like I sometimes do when it comes to the big shows, the way I'm booking them. I think I also have them set to, yeah, so this is a show I set to Inspire, which then works out fine for the next show, which is why some of the ratings are a little bit better. With the likes of Landon Mallory, of course, Tommy Cornell Jr. gets a 73, which is his biggest rating yet, 78 for Ant-Man. Considering the draw probably penalises us quite a bit, that's why I don't have a creative finish, and obviously because nobody won, essentially. But 74 is still huge, but Ant-Man keeps the belt. It's essentially not counting as a defence. It's a very weak win, you could say, which doesn't take anything away from Tommy Cornell Jr., who of course showcased himself very, very strongly. Could have arguably won if the match kept going on. But it's a count-out win, or a count-out draw, sorry. But Ant-Man keeps the belt. 74 rating, you know what, I'll take it. As then we go straight in to the co-main event. The World Heavyweight Championship match. And in a bout that had superb wrestling and great heat, Ernest Youngman beats Hangman after Hangman intentionally gets disqualified, giving Ernest defence number 10 of his title, 76 rating. Obviously, a lot of questions to be asked as to why Hangman is intentionally got disqualified. You know? So a lot of question marks over that I'm sure we might get into, we might not. You know, why has he done this? He obviously disappeared out of the ring earlier in the month when he almost got jumped by Ernest and his buddies. So the rating, again, as you can tell, we did not put a creative finish on it because it was a bit of a tainted finish. But 76 is huge. Ernest still pulls in a 74. But after a very close matchup, when it was getting into that, you know, the final few minutes of the match when anything could happen, Hangman essentially, he doesn't even go full rage mode and get himself intentionally disqualified. It's almost in the sense he's giving off the vibe of almost he doesn't really necessarily care. But it's a win for Ernest nonetheless. 67 for Hangman, which isn't horrible. He's definitely capable now, I think, of doing a little bit better than 67, but I'll take a 76. As then we have the big entrance, the big intro, singing to the crowd, serenading the crowd Probably the favourite to win, which is quite bold to say when you have the likes of Logan Wolfsbane and Architect, who both have a lot of backup in the means of, Marco Gonzalez, Austin, Ernest, the champ, who just defended. Helping Logan, you got Giant Brody on Architect's side as well. Tennessee Williams alone. He's all by himself. So he's the favourite in terms of pure red hot form. But with no backup, he's definitely outnumbered. But here we go. The main event, which the whole month has been leading up to. After some close matchups, a hit or a miss for Tennessee to even take that third spot. He had to overcome Papa Swole. But the match itself does have a great finish on it. I'm really hoping it's very capable of being the best rated match, which would need to be 83, I believe. Let's see how we do for the first ever King in the Castle champion, who will go on to fight Ernest next month for the World Heavyweight Championship to end the year. Oh, it only gets a 76. And it was a creative finish, was a success. And in the bout that had superb wrestling and great heat, it's Tennessee Williams, the man himself, beats Logan, an Architect, when he pinned Logan Wolfsbane with a Devil's Cross. But during the match, and the whole reason he pinned Logan, was because Ernest Youngman accidentally hit Wolfsbane. But during the match, we also had Marco attack William. We had Austin Smooth distract Aldred. Basically everything you can imagine. All the chaotic mayhem, and then around the ring between, all of their buddies, all their stable members helping them out. But it essentially ends when Ernest, with a foreign object, like a chair or just whatever you want to use as your imagination, he smashes Logan over the head with it, gets pulled out the ring. Tennessee gets the pin and the win. Rating wise, this is actually, Logan's let the team down here big time. Tennessee gets an 81, Architect hits an 82. The first time ever we've had more than one person get over 80 in the same match. So even if Ernest pulled in like a 75, 76, this probably could have gone way above, which is a bit of a shame. But really good match. 76 would have been nice if it was higher, but I'm trying not to put too much pressure on the ratings because, 76 is still way above and beyond what we need to take pop, all things considered. 80 show rating, so ends pretty well. No titles change hands, but a lot of questions to be asked over the fact Hangman just doesn't really seem to care. He's kind of living in his own little bubble. There's a lot of unanswered questions since his turn to heel. He's almost a totally different person. And then obviously the very controversial double count out with Ant-Man and Tommy Cornell Jr. and the very odd ending with Ernest accidentally hitting Logan, which is a bit weird because, of course, if Logan won the match, he would have went on to fight his Steel Circle teammate, obviously long-term friend and rival, Ernest. So is it just a coincidence that Ernest seemingly him and has made him lose the match? Who knows? But very good rated show. 80, I'll take it. Lots of 70 plus matches and angles, so I can't really complain, to be honest. It's turned out pretty good as we now head into season's beatings. Our last show of 2025. Of 2025, which has been a huge year for us. I feel like the snowball effect is well and truly now in full motion. Now that we got the broadcasters and all the rest of it, we're actually making money. Things are looking up, so I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you for the last month of 2025.